Building Blocks of Geometry, Section 6, Mathematical Logic. In this section, we're talking all about the rules of logic and logic within mathematics that we can use for writing proofs. So we have four main definitions. They're types of logic that we're going to use a lot when we're writing proofs. The first one is a direct argument. So this regards to the statements of if something, then something else, which we've talked about before, but I'll write it in words. It's if P, then Q. Now, say P is true. Therefore, because of direct argument and because of the logic, we know Q must be true. Now, to use some notation we've used previously, we could say if P, then Q. P is true, therefore Q. Now, an indirect argument is when you start with the same, if P, then Q. So if P is Q, then Q is true. But for an indirect argument, we kind of come in from the back door and we say, well, actually, not Q. Q is not true. Therefore, not P. So, once again, notation would be, okay, if P, then Q. Then we say, not Q, therefore, not P. So it's like saying if we don't get the result we want, then the initial statement must not have been true as well. So when I say not Q and not P over here, I'm saying Q is not true, and then therefore P is not true. The OR rule is in regards to if P or Q is true, so it must be one or the other. We say P is not true for some reason. The conclusion we can draw from that is that, well, then the other one must be true. So Q must be true. The notation for that would be, you could say P or Q. Well, not P, therefore Q. So P or Q has to be one or the other. If one's not true, the other must be true. The chain rule is, it always involves kind of two conjunctive statements. So it's saying if P, then Q, which is just like what we've been doing, but then you also have if Q, then R. We introduce a new statement. But then, therefore, we can say, following the logic of the chain rule, we can say, well, if P, then R. Now, this one helps us see a little more visually. You could say P, if P, then Q, and then if Q, then R. So it's like you can kind of cut out that middle step and say P, if P, then R.